Presuming you think you're privileged, let me tell you something. If you were really privileged, I, the minority in your eyes, would not be able to do what I'm about to do. Stand here and object to every word you're about to say and get away with it.
I'm sorry. Dear Black people, I'm sorry. Dear Asian Americans, dear Native Americans, dear immigrants who come here seeking a better life, I'm sorry. Dear everyone who isn't a middle or upper class white boy, I'm sorry.
I seem to be missing the point. What exactly are you sorry for? Being white? Something that is inevitable and uncontrollable? Is that something you should really be apologizing for? People apologize when they do something wrong, something that is in their control. Being white, or any other race for that matter, is neither wrong nor in a person's control. Ugh. This video just started, and I can already tell that this poem is the product of SJW ideals being shoved down a young, impressionable kid's throat.
I have started life at the top of a ladder while you were born on the first rung.
You believe you were born at the top of the ladder? Kid, you have been misinformed and confused about who in reality is born at the top of the ladder. I will keep it very simple and very clear for you so you can understand. You know, the president of your country, I mean the non-white president and his two non-white daughters? Yeah, they are examples of people who were born at the top of the ladder. So unless one or both of your parents are as important as the president of the United States, or as rich as, let's say, Oprah Winfrey, a non-white female, you need to reevaluate where you belong on the ladder.
I say now that I would change places with you in an instant, but if given the opportunity, would I? Probably not.
Before offering to change places with us non-white people, find out if we want to be you. Because to be honest, who would want to change places with a spoiled ignorant like you?
Because to be honest, being privileged is awesome. I'm not saying that you and me on different rungs of the ladder is how I want it to stay. I'm not saying that any part of me has for a moment even liked it that way. I'm just saying that I fucking love being privileged and I'm not ready to give that away.
What privileges are you talking about? Do you really believe you're privileged? What experiences in your life have made you think you're privileged? Has there ever been a time in your life when you were treated differently than someone else based on skin color or sex? Or do you just believe you're privileged because that's what everyone tells you? And if so, did it sound anything like, "Get out of this conversation, you privileged cis white male? You don't know what you're talking about"? Because if that is what it was, I can confirm that hearing that is the opposite of being privileged. People literally dismiss others because they're cis, they're white, and they're male. That is what oppression looks like. It's sexist and racist to say something like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Can't be racist towards white people.
I love it because I can say fucking and not one of you is attributing that to the fact that everyone with my skin color has a dirty mouth.
What is so privileged about swearing?
I love it because I don't have to spend an hour every morning putting on makeup to meet other people's standards.
But by your logic, I could just as easily say that men go to the gym to get all fit and buff to meet other people's standards. In fairness, I'm not going to totally disagree. A very small percentage of women wear makeup to meet other people's standards. Although, just like men going to the gym, women wear makeup to make themselves feel good.
I love it because when I see a police officer, I see someone who's on my side.
Generalizing things. My favorite thing to do. Not all cops are racist. And not all cops would be on your side just because you're white. Some cops use brutal force against anyone, regardless of skin color or sex, just because they believe they have power over other people. But the vast majority of police officers fight for justice, regardless of skin color. Again, the whole issue is just used as a blanket statement here, ultimately proving nothing.
If I lived a life lit by what I lack, not what I have, if I lived a life in which when I failed, the world would say, "Told you so." If I lived the life that you live.
Who says anyone lives a life like that? Do you have any proof? Maybe if you go back to the 60s, that would be correct. But unfortunately for you, it doesn't apply to today's day and age.
When I was born, I had a success story already written for me. You were given a pen and no paper.
Are you claiming that just because someone is born less fortunate than another, they can't become successful? That's pretty close-minded. No success story is pre-written. Individuals go out of their way to make them happen.
I've always felt that that's unfair, but I've never dared to speak up because I've been too scared.
How can someone feel so privileged but then too scared to speak up about something? Privileged people speak about whatever they want to speak about because they know that everyone will agree with them, because that's what being privileged is. Unless if you're saying that you were afraid to speak up about it because you were afraid of losing the so-called privilege that you claim to have. So which one is it? Are you stupid? Or are you selfish?
Now I realize that there's enough blankie to be shared.
Okay, so it's selfish.
Everyone should have the privileges that I have. In fact, they should be rights instead.
But they already are rights. Have you heard of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? This document was developed by the UN to ensure that every human, and human regardless of race or gender or what they believe in, has the same rights. So they already are rights, not privileges.
It's embarrassing that we still live in a world in which we judge another person's character by the size of their paycheck, the color of their skin, or the type of chromosomes they have.
Stop saying we, as if that's a thing that everyone in society does. How a person views things like this is completely up to the individual. Just because you do something and feel guilty about it, doesn't mean you have to speak for everyone else and bring them down with you.
It's embarrassing that we tell our kids that it is not their personality, but instead those same chromosomes that get to dictate what color clothes they wear and how short they must cut their hair.
Does this statement apply to men too?
Most of all, it is embarrassing that we deny this, that we claim to live in an equal country, in an equal world. We say that women can vote. Well, guess what? They can run a country, own a company, and throw a nasty curveball as well. You just don't give them the chance to.
We already do live in equality here in the Western world. Things are more than equal right now. Companies now hire others just because someone is a woman or of a different race. They now feel like they have to fill a quota. They literally stop hiring white men who are more qualified for the job than anyone else because of SJWs like you. Justin Trudeau's cabinet is the biggest example of this. Women and men are equal in numbers in his cabinet. People are literally more focused on the numbers of men to women than who's more qualified for the job. And numbers of men to women in the workforce are pretty much equal. I do agree with one point though. Women can run a country and own a company. They can do these things and they already do. Who says we don't give them the chance to? For example, there's a female chancellor of Germany right now running the country as I speak. There are examples of women in history who have ran countries. Most notably, the Tsar of Russia, Catherine the Great. People like Catherine and Angela Merkel know how to do their job. They got it because they were qualified for it and they did a good job at it. But you can't give women positions like CEOs or the power to run a country if they're not qualified, which is even what we're starting to do right now. Just look at Hillary Clinton.
I know it wasn't us 8th grade white boys who created this system, but we profit from it every day.
Can you prove exactly how do you profit from it?
We don't notice these privileges though.
That's what every SJW argues when they're asked to prove something, because it's easier to say, we just don't notice it, than to prove that it actually exists. Do you know why we don't notice it? Because it's not there! Now, instead of saying that we just don't notice it, would you like to add some backups to your statements?
Because they don't come in the form of things we gain, but rather the lack of injustices that we endure.
Great. Another blanket statement. This poem just keeps repeating itself, and I've already explained this one. Let's move on.
Because of my gender, I can watch any sport on TV and feel like that could be me one day.
There are women in sports too. Another thing I'd like to bring up, there are more people of color in sports than white people. Do you think that's racist? Do you think that more white people should be added to sports? Because you'd be a lunatic to think that. Because we pick people for sports based on how well they can play, not the color of their skin. Just like we do for any other job.
Because of my race, I can eat at a fancy restaurant without the waitstaff expecting me to steal the silverware.
Have you ever considered that the only reason why some people think this way is because of people like you? By paying attention to these stereotypes, you further separate the different races, creating racism.
Thanks to my parents' salary, I go to a school that brings my dreams closer instead of pushing them away.
You don't have to be white to make a salary if that's what you're implying. Making a salary isn't privileged, it's just what's expected of people. And I'd argue about the schools bringing dreams closer instead of pushing them away not only being a white thing, but I'm pretty sure at this point it's obvious that school brings no one's dreams closer at all.
Dear white boys, I'm not sorry. I don't care if you think the feminists are taking over the world or the Black Lives Matter movement has gotten a little too strong, because that's bullshit.
Saying taking over the world is building a straw man. It's not only white boys who are against feminists or Black Lives Matter. There are many women who aren't feminists and black people who don't support Black Lives Matter. And can you really blame people for not wanting to join these groups? People are uncomfortable with feminism and Black Lives Matter because these groups take away freedom of speech. You're not allowed to say anything that they consider politically incorrect, even if it's true. Black Lives Matter is the same group that looks down on white people when they try to peacefully protest police brutality with them. Feminists are the same group that accuses all men of being sexist. The list goes on. And to be honest, feminism and Black Lives Matter sounds authoritarian or even fascist to me. Kinda reminds me a bit of Hitler or Stalin, the way that they censored people. So, can you really blame people for having discomfort with these groups? Not only that, but is it wrong to disagree with some of the things that they are fighting for? I thought people were free to have their own opinion.
I get that change can be scary, but equality shouldn't be.
Equality is not scary. That's why we live in it. But do you know what is scary? SJWs that try to censor people just like Hitler did.
White boys, it's time to act like a woman, to be strong and make a difference. It's time to let go of that fear.
You just finished talking about how oppressed women were, but now you're saying that they're stronger than boys and they should try to become more like women? How does that work?
It's time to take that ladder and turn it into a bridge.
This kid is just a sweet, innocent kid. His message is a nice one, and his head is in the right place, but he has been misinformed. My main problem isn't with the kid, it's with the people who are feeding him these ideas. I'd blame Tumblr, but I also think it's the school that he goes to. Most of this is coming from a class he attended called Race Class and Gender Class, and this poem won first place at his poem competition. This school is teaching people to think like this and rewarding them for it. They're rewarding SJWs now. That's ugly on the school's part.